Good morning, everyone. You're very welcome to another of our online assemblies. Trust you're all keeping safe and keeping well. I bet you on Tuesday you didn't think that you'd be watching today's assembly sitting at home, but it is a timely reminder that COVID-19 is still very much with us, and we all must do our part to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 here in school and in our local community. You know, today's assembly, the theme for today's assembly is something small can make a big difference. And no matter how small your actions are, be it positive or be it negative, they really can have a massive impact. And that's why every week I do tell you to continue to wash your hands properly, wear your face coverings, try and adhere to social distancing where you're keeping at least 1 metre apart from your friends or 2 metres apart from your teachers. And if we all do our own little bit, something small, that can have such a massive and positive impact. So I do encourage you, please, please, please help us out as we try to stamp out COVID-19 here in Dungannon Primary. I'm not going to say anything more at this stage. We're now going to sing our assembly song.
You spoke a word and brought the world to life. Your voice still echoes through the darkest night. I could try my best to count the stars. Nothing could compare to who you are. With you, everything is brought to light. With you, everything comes back to life. You died to make me whole. I want the world to know. With you, nothing is impossible. These bones to rise, and with the breath you brought me back to life. I could try and do it my own way. Jesus, I know only you can save. With you, everything is brought to light. With you, everything comes back to life. You died to make me whole. I want the world to know. With you, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. When my world is upside down, when I can't find solid ground, you turn it all around. Nothing is impossible. When I feel like I'm alone, when I'm far away from home, I know that I'm your own. Nothing is impossible. When my world is upside down, when I can't find solid ground, you turn it all around. Nothing is impossible. When I feel like I'm alone, when I'm far away from home, I know that I'm your own. Nothing is impossible. With you, everything is brought to light. With you, everything comes back to life. You died to make me whole. I want the world to know. With you, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. With you, nothing is impossible. You died to make me whole. I want the world to know. With you, nothing is impossible.
Hi kids, I hope you're all well. For those of you who don't remember who I am Michaela McMichael, the children's pastor from Vineyard Church Dungannon. And I hope hope you're ready for another fun day at school. How great is it to be back in school, see your friends, see your teachers in person, and yes, do some work, but have lots of fun too. I hope you're enjoying being back in school. Well, boys and girls, I rushed in here this morning that I forgot to eat that much of breakfast, so I am really hungry now. Do you ever get hungry? Especially in the morning when you haven't ate all night while you've been sleeping, or lunchtime or dinner time or snack time. Oh, there are lots of times in the days when we get hungry, aren't there? Lots of times. Well, thankfully, I remembered to bring my packed lunch with me. Although I didn't pack a very big packed lunch. Do you want to see what I have? All I have is some crackers and some grapes. That's all I have. I forgot my sandwich. Oh, are you getting hungry now I'm talking about food and showing you food? Well, do you think I could share this with you? I could cut the grapes really tiny and we could all get a teeny tiny bit. Maybe there's too many of us. We could cut and break up these crackers into tiny bits. We could all get a little tiny bit of food. But is there enough here to share between all of us? There really isn't. If I'm hungry and you're hungry, we really don't have enough food here, do we? But I would love to share this with you, even if we only got a teeny tiny bit each. Oh, that's not fun. I don't think it would satisfy my hunger. I would still be hungry if I only ate a teeny tiny bit and you only got a teeny tiny bit. Would you still be hungry after that? Yes, I think you would. Ah, food though. Food is pretty amazing, isn't it? All you do is put food into your body and your body can use the food to do pretty awesome things. Your body turns the food into energy to help us move, to help us think, to keep us alive and to help us grow. Food makes our bodies work. Food keeps our bodies functioning and really keep us alive. And me and you don't have much to do. All we have to do is to take the food, put it into our mouth, give it a little chew, and swallow. And then our bodies do all the rest. They do all the hard work of turning that food into energy that helps us grow, move, and go, and stay alive, and make our body work. Isn't that amazing? It is so interesting too to learn how that works. But I'm not going to go into that today. You might learn that in school someday, maybe more when you're bigger. But all this food and how little food I have for lunch to share with you all is making me think about a story from the Bible. Some of you may already know this story from the Bible, but it starts with Jesus teaching a big crowd. And I'm talking a very big crowd. There were a lot of people. If you're in assembly, you know when we had assembly with all of the classes from your school, that was a lot of people in one room in the assembly hall, wasn't it? But think of that number of people times 100. Seriously, there were so many people in the crowd. There were 5,000 people in the crowd and more. That was a lot of people. But anyway, this story starts with Jesus teaching them about God, teaching them about God's kingdom and how it was coming to earth. The huge crowd were listening to Jesus. But while they were listening, they became very hungry, like me this morning. In fact, it was probably around dinner time, so they maybe had their lunch and they were listening to Jesus and now they were getting hungry because it was around dinner time. So the crowd were needing some food, that's right. Well, Jesus' disciples came to Jesus and said, we think the people want and need some food. So how about we send them off to the villages close by so that they can get some dinner? That sounds like a good plan. When you're hungry and you need food, go to where there's food. Do you think it was a good plan? Well, Jesus said, no, do not send them away. You give them food. So he told the disciples to get the people, the 5,000 and more people, some food. The disciples were shocked and confused. Even though they had witnessed Jesus perform so many miracles, so many impossible things before, they were still shocked and confused. And they were like, where are we going to get food in the middle of nowhere and enough food to feed all of these people. They were so shocked and confused. The disciples said, "We have nothing." They were thinking, "We don't even have enough money to go and buy enough food for all these people. What is going on? How is this? How are they meant to find a solution? How are they meant to give the people food, just as Jesus said, when they have nothing?" Well, let's remember, what was it Jesus said? He told them to go and give the people something to eat. Well, the disciples were like, well, if we have to give them something to eat, we have to have that something first. So they went to find or to get some food. And you know all that they found in the crowd amongst all those people? The only thing they found was a young boy who had brought a small lunch with him. Maybe not the same bag as mine with a name on it, but he had brought a small lunch with him. And it was a lunch that had 5 loaves and 2 fishes. It actually says in Matthew chapter 14 verse 17, we have only 5 loaves here and 2 fish. And this was the lunch they got from this young boy, probably like your age. If you're 8 or 9, it was probably around that age. But Jesus said, it's okay. It may only be 5 loaves and 2 fish, but Jesus said, okay, bring it to me. So the disciples took the food, the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and brought it to Jesus. And they said and thought, yes, we've found some food, but there's no way this is going to help. There's no way this is going to be anywhere near enough food to feed all of these people. But here you go, Jesus. Here's the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes. What did Jesus do? Well, Jesus blessed the food. He said a prayer, then gave it back to the disciples and said, get the people to sit down and start to pass the food around to all the people. The disciples were still a little bit confused and still very worried about how 5 loaves and 2 fish were going to feed all of these people. But do you know what happened? Well, while the disciples passed out the food, so they were taking it from a basket and giving someone a piece of bread, taking it from the basket, giving someone a piece of fish, taking it from the basket, giving someone another piece of bread. Looking back in the basket, there was more bread. Every time they gave bread out or fish out, more bread and more fish appeared in the baskets. Boys and girls, there was more than enough food to feed 5,000 people, more than 5,000 people. There was so much food. As the disciples passed out the food, gave it to all the people in the crowd, more food appeared. And then there was so much food that everyone ate as much as they wanted, and there was food left over. What? That's how much food there was. How did that happen? What happened? Well, boys and girls, that was a miracle. That was something completely impossible that Jesus made possible. That through his power, he turned 5 loaves, 2 fishes into so much food that over 5,000 people had a lovely, very, very filling dinner, and they had food left over. A miracle. And how did this happen? Because Jesus can do anything. He is God. He was God. He still is God, and he can do the impossible. Boys and girls, this story teaches us so much, but I'm only going to talk about 2 things from this story. Firstly, from this story we learn that Jesus cares about all of our needs. What was happening at the start of the story? Jesus was teaching the people about God and about God's kingdom. He, in that moment, is caring about people. He's caring about their souls. He's caring that they know God, that they become friends with him and start to change their lives through the power of God. They want him to encounter his power and his kingdom. He really cared about that, and that's what he was doing while he was here on earth, and that's what he really cares about for all of us. He was healing the sick, and in the midst of that, what happened? The people got hungry. And what did he do? Did he say, no, you must keep listening to me while I talk to you about God. You must keep listening to me while I tell you about God's kingdom. You must keep sitting or standing there while I pray for all the other sick people. No, he stopped and he didn't send them away. No, he cared about their need for food, their physical needs, And within that, he provided for their physical needs. He provided all the food that everyone needed in that moment. So not only does God care about our souls and everything that happens to us and how much we know him, he also cares about our physical needs. So that's the first thing we've got to learn from this story. The second thing is, no matter what we have, no matter how small, what we give Jesus, he will use to do amazing things. He didn't have to use the little boy's lunch. It was a very small lunch, there really wasn't much there. He could have turned a rock into bread. He could have summoned all the fish out of the sea and got them to land on the land, and then the people could have just ate the fresh fish. He could have done so many other amazing things because God can do anything. But he wanted to do something with the people he was with. He wanted to use the disciples. He wanted to work together with his disciples to provide the food for the people in the crowd. He wanted to use what they had, and what they had was the lunch that the small boy had. What we learn from this, boys and girls, this is the most amazing thing, is that Jesus wants to work with us using whatever we have, whether it's small, whether we think it's not enough. Jesus can use what's in our hands to do amazing things with it. He takes what we give him and he uses it to do some amazing things. A little lunch, and turns it into a lunch, and a big lunch for over 5,000 people. He also takes our lives, not only what we have in our hands, our physical things that we have, he takes our lives and he makes us into something new. He transforms us into something amazing. And when we have faith in Jesus, when we have found our new life through him, we can do amazing things in and through him, through God's grace in our lives. So, finishing up, boys and girls, let's not ever think what God has given us, because everything we have, first of all, comes from God. Let's not ever think what we have in our lives, whether it's us or the things that we have or the gifts or talents we have, let's not ever think we're too small. It's not enough, it's not good enough, it's not strong enough, it's not smart enough, I'm not brave enough. Let's never think any of those things. And remember that the boy only had 5 loaves and 2 fish, and Jesus still used that to do the most amazing thing. I encourage you, boys and girls, that whatever you have in your hands, the gifts God has given you, whatever your packed lunch is, your life, who you are, how God has made you, I encourage you, boys and girls, to give that back to God, because in his hands, what we have, who we are, is totally transformed into something so much bigger, so much more amazing than we could ever imagine or do on our own. I'm telling you, boys and girls, I know it's not easy. The disciples even found it hard after seeing all the miracles that Jesus performed in front of their eyes. They even found it hard in this moment to believe what God could do with 5 loaves and 2 fish. But when we take the brave step and surrender what we have, who we are, to God, God will use us in mighty, powerful, wonderful ways. Isn't that amazing? Before we go, let's pray. So, can you all pretend to wash your hands? Hang them out to dry and close your eyes to help me focus. Father God, I thank you. I thank you that no matter who we are or where we are or what we have, when we give it all back to you, God, you use us, you transform our lives, and you do amazing things with us. Come now, Lord God. Come and be with all the boys and girls, and as they give you their packed lunch, use them to do wonderful, mighty things in your name. Amen. Amen. Have a great day at school, and I will be back sometime soon.
This video helps make the proper hand washing technique more memorable for little hands. So wet those hands and apply some soap. It's time for my big song.
Rub the palms, 1, 2. Rub the knuckles, 1, 2. Rub the insides of your fingers and the back of them too. Rub the thumbs, 1, 2. And the nails, 1, 2. Now time to rinse. Happy clean hands for you.
So that brings us to the end of another assembly. I want to thank Michaela for taking the time to record her message for us this morning. It's very much appreciated as always. Thanks also to Kerry Stewart for putting all of this together. Again, much appreciated. Those of you who have been told to isolate over the next number of days, you are also encouraged to book a test to double check that you don't have COVID-19 yourself. So I would encourage as many of you as possible to get your test booked, get your test taken, and please let me know the result of your test. Until then, I'm encouraging you all again, please stay safe, adhere to those COVID-19 rules, and I look forward to talking to you all again very soon. Take care.